They mocked my clothes. They mocked my job. They mocked my future. And the funny part? The same people who laughed at me now whisper my name in rooms I once wasn't allowed to enter. This is how I went from mocked to millionaire. Hi, my name is Thomas. Let me take you back. In the polished glass towers of the city, where success was loud and failure was invisible, Thomas existed as a reminder of what people never wanted to become: poor, unimportant, easily ignored. Thomas worked as a tea server in a mid-sized corporate office. Every morning, he arrived before sunrise, setting up cups for people who would never remember his name. His uniform smelled faintly of boiled leaves and cheap detergent. His shoes were cracked at the sides, always slightly wet no matter how dry the day was. Executives walked past him as if he were furniture. Some didn't even bother hiding their contempt. "Careful, don't spill it," one manager said once, laughing as others joined in. "Relax, it's all he's good for," another replied. Thomas smiled every time, not because it didn't hurt, but because reacting would make it worse. At home, Thomas lived in a one-room apartment behind an old factory. His father had died under crushing debt, leaving Thomas with nothing except unpaid loans and a mother whose silence carried more pain than words ever could. She never complained. That made Thomas feel the weight of responsibility even more. Every night when the city celebrated success it didn't earn, Thomas sat on the floor with his laptop balanced on a crate. That laptop was his secret. While the world slept, Thomas learned. Finance, markets, business psychology, negotiation, digital systems. He didn't learn to escape poverty. He learned to destroy the version of himself the world had decided he would be. At work, rumors followed him. He thinks he'll be rich someday. He reads business books during lunch breaks. How cute. People like him don't make it. Thomas heard everything, and he remembered every word. The breaking point came during the office's annual celebration. The executives laughed, glasses raised, bonuses announced. Thomas served drinks while standing at the edge of the room like a shadow. One senior executive, drunk on success, called him over. "Hey you," the man said loudly, "what do you dream of becoming?" The room went quiet. Thomas hesitated. "An entrepreneur," he said honestly. The laughter was instant, an avalanche of mockery. "An entrepreneur? With what money? With what brain? Stick to tea, kid." Someone added, "People like you are meant to serve, not succeed." Thomas nodded politely. That night he didn't sleep. Not because he was sad, because something inside him went cold. He didn't want applause anymore. He didn't want approval. He wanted control. Thomas quit his job the next morning without drama. No speeches, no goodbyes. Just a resignation letter slid quietly onto a desk. They barely noticed, which was perfect. Thomas started small, painfully small. He identified inefficiencies in local supply chains, especially the same corporate systems he once served. He noticed where companies wasted money, where arrogance blinded decision-makers, where ego replaced logic. He launched a consulting service no one respected. At first, clients laughed at his prices, competitors dismissed him, investors ignored him. Thomas didn't beg. He worked. He undercut large firms with precision, delivered results that embarrassed bigger players. He didn't advertise loudly. He let his work humiliate those who underestimated him. The first year nearly broke him. He skipped meals, sold his phone, walked everywhere. There were nights he sat in darkness, questioning whether revenge was worth this suffering. Then his first major client came. A mid-sized company saved millions using Thomas's systems. Word spread, quietly. By the time people noticed, it was already too late. Thomas expanded. He hired selectively, fired ruthlessly, built systems that ran without him. He studied power dynamics, not just profits. He learned one brutal truth: money is loud, control is silent. By year 3, Thomas's company was competing directly with the same corporate firms that once mocked him. By year 4, he was winning. The real revenge didn't come through confrontation. It came through replacement. One by one, executives lost contracts to Thomas's firm. Careers stalled. Bonuses disappeared. The same people who once laughed now whispered his name with unease. Then came the moment fate seemed to enjoy. Thomas's former company, the one where he served tea, was failing. Poor decisions, bloated management, outdated systems. They needed help. They contacted Thomas's firm. The meeting was scheduled in a glass-walled boardroom. Thomas walked in wearing a tailored suit, calm, composed. The room froze when they recognized him. Whispers spread. "Isn't that's the tea boy." "No way." Thomas sat at the head of the table. The same executive who once mocked him avoided eye contact. Thomas didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He presented facts. Cold, precise, unforgiving. "This company is bleeding," Thomas said evenly, "and unless radical changes are made, it won't survive 2 years." They listened, because now he was the one with leverage. They offered him a partnership. Thomas declined. He offered a buyout instead. The room went silent. They had no choice. Thomas acquired the company at a fraction of its former value. Ownership transferred. Power shifted. On the first day as owner, Thomas stood in the same hall where he once served tea. Employees stared. Executives swallowed their pride. Thomas addressed them briefly. "I'm not here to humiliate anyone," he said, "but I will never forget how people are treated when they have nothing." He fired no one that day. That was the most terrifying part. Months later, Thomas sold multiple holdings in a strategic deal. The number that entered his account made headlines. Thomas, millionaire. Journalists called it an overnight success. Thomas laughed, because revenge done right takes time. He bought his mother a home overlooking a quiet park, paid off every debt tied to his father's name, set up scholarships for people no one believed in. But he never returned to those who mocked him for validation. He didn't need it. One evening, Thomas stood alone in his office, city lights reflecting off the glass. He remembered every insult, every laugh, every dismissive glance. They thought he would break. Instead, he replaced them. And that was the revenge they never saw coming.